My name is Martin Fackler. I just got in from Korea, so excuse me if it sounds like I just swallowed an amphibian. But I'm very tired. But it is my great pleasure to introduce our speakers today. Well, there we go. Our speakers today. We have the pleasure of Human Rights Watch, folks from Human Rights Watch to come visit with us to talk about their report. This is their first report they've done since opening an office in Japan. Let me first introduce the speakers, and I'll try to take as little time as possible so they can speak. On my right is Doi Kanae-san, who is the Japan director of Human Rights Watch. She's a lawyer who specialized in international human rights law, a law degree from University of Tokyo, and also has a master's degree from NYU School of Law in New York. She practiced law until 2006 when she joined Human Rights, worked in New York and Japan, and then in 2009 opened their office in Tokyo. On her right is Saruta Sayo-san, who is a practicing lawyer, also specializing in human rights. Has a master's degree from Columbia Law School and also from the American University. She also founded her own think tank called the New Diplomacy Initiative. With Human Rights Watch, she's a lawyer who consults with them, and she actually conducted the report that we're about to hear about. And on her right is Ms. Sahel Rosa, who is an actress, TV host, and taranto. She was born in Iran and moved to Japan when she was 8 years old, and she is the Goodwill Ambassador for the current campaign. The title of the report is called Without Dreams. It's about children in alternative care, and by which they mean orphans and kids whose parents can't take care of them in institutions, etc. And again, as I said, this is the first report that Human Rights Watch has released about Japan. I was curious why they would focus on children in their first report, and they said because it's one of the worst human rights issues in Japan. It's ignored by the local media, and Japan is doing poorly versus other developed countries. So clearly it's an issue that they think needs to be raised and talked about and to raise awareness about. And so without further ado, I will turn the floor over to Ms. Doi.
Thank you very much, Martin. My name is Kanae Doi, Japan Director for Human Rights Watch. Thank you for this opportunity to present our new report, Without Dreams. As Martin said, this is our first report on Japan after we established our office in 2009. We conducted research for 2 years. We interviewed more than 200 people, including children currently under alternative care, as well as those youth who has graduated from the system very recently. Before I talk about the details of this report, first I want you to watch our video called Without Dreams. So please watch.
A beautiful, healthy baby, about to start his long journey through life. What will he grow up to be? Will he go to college? Will he have a family? Will he be happy? Will he be loved? But what if his parents are unable to care for him? Or due to neglect or abuse, he has to be removed from his home. It's likely he will end up here in one of Japan's 131 alternative infant care institutions.
今日現在の39名の在籍の子どもの中では、皆さん親御さんがいらっしゃいます。現在一番小さいお子さんは3ヶ月のお子さんがいます。
If a child is 3 years or older, he would likely be sent to a large-sized institution like this one.
はい、こちらはですね、入所している児童の数は42名です。で、それに対して職員ですね、職員の数は40名です。
Or He might be sent to an even larger institution like this one.
子どもたちの、泉ヶ丘学院の定員は90名定員で現在82名の子どもたちが、生活しています。現在90名定員の中で、82名がいますが82名の 88% がチャイルドアビューズです。そういう面で、虐待を受けた子どもたちが単に虐待いう名前じゃなしにすごく心に重たいもの心の傷を持って施設に来ています。
普通の家ではなくて倉庫に住んでたんですね。すごくボロくて虫とかいっぱいいるような倉庫に私は住んでいまして、おばあちゃんにも愛されたいと思っていて、それでしょっちゅうおばあちゃんにキレたりだとか反抗したりだとかして、その時にちょっと福祉士さんを呼んで、もうあなたを施設に預けるということで。
中2の冬にですね父親と大きな喧嘩をしまして、もうお金を盗みたくないっていうことを思い切って言ったんですね。そしたらすごく殴られてもうボコボコにされて、でもうなんかこんな生活できないって思って必死に外に逃げたんですね。
In Japan, we have around 40,000 children in the alternative care system, and the majority of them are in their alternative care because they are abused by their parents. It is an shaming fact that most of the children in the alternative care in Japan are institutionalized and not in the care of families.
児童相談所というところが日本には210カ所、もうちょっとありますけども、その、児童相談所で子どもの部分に、措置を決めていって各施設に入っていく。
The UN guidelines for the alternative care of children, adopted by consensus by the UN General Assembly, says that should a child need to be put in alternative care, the best place is with direct relatives. If that's not possible, adoption is the next best option. The third option is to place the child in a foster home. And the option of last resort is to put the child in an institution. Currently, child guidance centers place more than 85% of children in institutions.
子どもの人権という感覚が一切ないから違いますかね。社会的養護を受けている子どもたちの数というのは非常に数が少なくてマイノリティですからね。もうそういう子どもたちがもうどうなっても別に大したことはないというふうな考え方ですね。ですから誰もその子どもたちに対してそのプレッシャーを働かせない。
それから里親支援機関という制度が諸外国にありますけれども、日本の国ではまだそれが根付いていないので、それを補うシステムがなかなかないので、児童相談所が担わなければいけない。そうなった場合に児童相談所がやっぱり忙しくて人手も足りない、どうしても、里親家庭に委託できず、たくさんの多職種がいて人手もある児童養護施設の方にという考えてしまうのは仕方がないことではないかと思っています。
まずもうちっちゃい時から常に周りに子どもたちがいたので、こっちでも友達はたくさんいますけど、やっぱり一人になるとすぐ寂しくなっちゃいますね。その一人っていうことが慣れないっていうか、その一人の時間の過ごし方が今まだ分からなくて、すごい寂しくなっちゃいます。
first 6 years of life is the most important time. So one of the reasons is that the attachment portion of the brain, that's called limbic system, grows from the birth to 6 years old. And they can naturally relate to adult. In the institution, even if they try to have attachment, it's not really one-on-one. And one staff member has maybe 5 babies. Also, the staff member goes home, and then the next staff member comes. So it's not the consistent relationship. And babies need a consistent relationship.
僕らが、どう子供に応えてるというふうに言っても、今日皆さんが見た通りやっぱり3人なり4人なりを1人で見るっていうのが日中になりますし、その時にどう応えてあげれるかっていう部分でいけば、やはり里親さんのお家であれば1対1の関係性であるとか、親御さん含めて2対1の関係の中でその子の投げたボールに対してやはりしっかりと答えていけれるっていうようなところは、そういった過程という部分だというふうに思っています。
Despite its affluence, Japan's foster care placement rate of 15% ranks among the lowest in the world. The government says it wants to raise the rate to 30% by the year 2030, but that's still far short of most countries. In the UK, foster home placement is at 71%, in the US, 77%, and in Australia, 93%.
一つにはやっぱり非常にベーシックに考えると、この子たちにやっぱり日本国民が無関心だっていうことがまず一番の原因だと思いますね。そうですね。あと日本のちょっと面白いところっていうのは、親の権利が非常に強いんですね。育ててないのに親に権利があるという非常に面白いことが起きてまして。
Parental rights are never severed. So the parents can say, I don't want my child to go to, foster parents. I want my child to be in an institution, and I can visit. They never visit, but I can visit, and I don't have to compete with other parents.
Another reason is a lack of support and funding by the Japanese government.
The foster parent system in Japan is not very well monitored, supported, or foster parents are not very well trained.
結論から言いますと、里親の研修に関しては非常に不十分だと思っています。で、例えば実習だとですね、例えば社会福祉士ですと、約4週間の実習期間があります。で、これも正直十分だとは思わないんですけれども、里親に関しては2日間なんですね。だから里親さんを増やすんであれば、里親さんをバックアップする体制をきちんと整えないといけないし、
もっとやっぱり本当にマンパワーっておっしゃってましたけど、本当に人的なそういうエネルギーをもっとその子どもの福祉に注ぎ込まないと里親も増えないしっていうところはあると思います。
でやっぱり対社的な施設だとやっぱり個というものが、後回しになりますね。大規模な施設だとですね、先ほど言ったように日課を全部決められているので、自己決定の機会がないということですね。でとにかくもう出されたものを食べる、言われた時間にはお風呂に入る、言われた時間に寝るということで、子どもが主体的にですね自分らしく生きるという機会を与えられていないというふうに言えると思います。はい、先ほど言ったようなですね、大人から決められたような生活を、施設でしていてもですね、子どもたちは18を境に一人で社会に出るわけですね。でそうすると、主にはアパートでの一人暮らしだったりします。でそうするとですね、もうそこでは何時に起きるとか何時に寝るとかそういったことを誰も決めてくれないわけですね。途端に18を境に子どもたちは全てのことを自分で決めないといけない。
でいきなりポンって出されて、もう電気のつけ方もわからない状態から入ってるので、本当そこら辺はしんどかったですね。もうどうやっていくとか何も全くだったので、仕事もないし。
For children who have recently left institutions, the burdens of life can seem overwhelming. For them, gathering places like Hinataboko, started by former residents of those same institutions, can be a lifeline.
今まで裏切られて、大人たちに、最初に親に裏切られて、施設職員に裏切られて、いろんなとこで裏切りを感じてきた子たちが最後に来てくださる、最後に行き渡るとこが日向ぼっこなんですね。
まず私が日向ぼっこに関わるようになったきっかけというのは、初めて私を受け入れてくれて、私の話を聞いてくれて、私は一人じゃないんだということで、今まで私は、誰も信用できないと、もう誰も頼らないと、私は自分一人で生きると思ってたんですけども、それじゃ生きていけない。
これをもう大きくシフトしないといけない時期に日本が来てるなと思うんですね。で、子どもというのはもう社会の宝ということです。将来のですね社会を支えていくのが子どもなわけで、ですから産んだ親に子どもを押し付けるのではなくて、社会全体で子育てを支えていかなければいけないというふうに考えています。
Really quickly, we're going to have everyone speak for a few minutes and try to keep it to like, 15 minutes or so total maybe, and then that'll leave time for Q&A afterwards. So, Ms. Doi, do you want to
Thank you very much. As you have seen in our video, the Japanese government is failing thousands of children by overwhelmingly institutionalizing children under alternative care and not providing family life for those children. We focused on this issue within this alternative care system, but not only that, we have documented human rights problems, as you can see from the contents of this report, that they're not only in the abuses and problems in institutions, but also we found lack of support in the foster care system, as well as we found lack of support for independent living for those children who graduated from alternative care system. We started this investigation, of course, because of the gravity of this issue, and then this issue has been overlooked by the Japanese society, but also because there were a lot of attention on the tsunami and earthquake orphans. There are 241 orphans by tsunami in Japan, and we investigated those children and found that they were, almost all of them, taken care of by their relatives. And also the Japanese government has reformed their system so that they can better support the relatives who are supporting those tsunami orphans. But the contrast was that the rest of the children who are in alternative care are getting almost no attention from the society. And it's a shaming fact is that only 1% of those children are in the care of relatives. And then, as we have shown, that there are only 15% of those children are with the care of foster families, and even less are being adopted. The Child Guidance Center is the local administrative authority which is in charge of placing children in alternative care. And the reasons why they put those children in institutions in our investigation, we think that there are mainly three reasons. One is the caseload. The child guidance centers staffers are busy, and then they prefer to put children into institutions, which is much easier, less time consuming, as opposed to arranging individual, foster parent arrangements. And second is they tend to defer to the opinions of biological parents who often prefer to put children in institutions. And the last is the economical interest of existing institutions, which is subsidized by the government based on the number of children who are in the institutions. So we have made comprehensive recommendations on the reforms that the Japanese government should take, and which is really long. But the essence is that we believe that the child guidance centers are not able to carry on this particular work. So we believe that independent organizations such as family court should be in charge of placing and then deciding where those children should be placed. And in order to do so, we have to revise the Child Welfare Act. And also we have to close all the infant care institutions. I have never heard any developed countries which has infant care institutions, and it is more damaging to babies to be in institutions, and then which affects the healthy development of those infants. So it is more urgent to close those infant care institutions and then put those infants into the care of families. So we are starting the campaign called Families for All Children. We believe that these shortcomings can be overcome. We know that the Japanese community as well as the Japanese government responded quickly to the needs of the tsunami orphans. And then once the society as well as the government has a will, these problems can be overcome. But we need to start by understanding the issue. In Japan, institutionalization is a normal, regular process. Almost no one in the community, in the society, understands that the institutionalization itself is a violation of children's rights. So we will start from here. So my next to me is Sayo Saruta, is our independent consultant who conducted the research of this report.
Okay, Ms. Saruta.
Thank you. I have only 4 minutes, so quickly I will explain what I did in this research. During this research, I met more than 2,000 people. I interviewed more than 2,000 people. Each of them had a very sympathetic story of their life. I would like to mention all of them, but it's impossible. So I picked up one very impressive story, which now you have a copy version in the package you got, I think. The title is Witness, Lack of Support in Japanese Orphanages. This is a story, I think, which represents many issues which now Japanese alternate care have to struggle with to change. Masashi Suzuki, it's not real name, but Masashi Suzuki, he is now 21 years old, left the institution at the age of, when he was at the age of 18. He stayed there for more than 16 years since he was 2 years old. His father abandoned him at the age of 2 years old, when he was 2 years old. He changed his job almost 20 times since he left the institution. He now have a small apartment, but he had to sleep in a park or sometimes in a manga cafe, manga kissa, because there is no place to get shelter for him. he is actually, he has a lot of experience of abuse in the institution by adult staffs of the institution. The name of the institution is Onchoen, which is in Chiba Prefecture, which was very infamous when director and vice director, staff of the institution got arrested and also put in trial, which is in, I think, early 2000s. The violation was very severe, such as rape and sexual assault, and also, of course, hitting and kicking almost all children. He himself said he cannot remember details of such kind of bad experiences. However, he said he remembered clearly that he was brought to before the dog of director, and the dog bite him. And he also complained a lot of things with a very little energy. His voice was not strong at all. He just said, yeah, I already kind of gave up my life, but still I think this is a problem of my life. Like, he didn't have a lot of chance to study well, so now he cannot read kanji, Chinese character well, and also he cannot calculate very well. Then also he didn't have any chance to get driver's license, which is very much needed for the former children from institution in order to get job like construction or interior design, whatever like that. So then also another problem is in Japan, as you know, it's very difficult to get jobs or apartment if you don't have any family members under the name of guarantor. So he doesn't have anybody to support him in his life. So this represents a lot of issues of Japanese alternative care system. Oh, I want to add one more. His IQ is a little bit lower than average. So the staff members of the institution encouraged him to get the certification as a disabled person. He himself thought he was not disabled at all, but it's kind of help from the staffs of the institution to let him get at least a job. There might be a little more opportunity to get a job if he is qualified as a disabled. But he complained about it, and also he was sent to the special high school for disabled people. But he said, I'm not a disabled person, people look down on me, and also much more than get a certification from the high school for disabled people. I wanted to learn how to read kanji, and also I wanted to learn calculation, which is needed for his job like interior and also construction. So now I explained his a lot of experience in the institution, also the problems of his independent life after he left the institution. So you can pick up a lot of issues from this table of contents of this report, like the problem of life of independence after they left the institution, then also the guarantor, the violation by adults in the institution, and then most of them are just, related to the institutionalization of the children, I think. Now, when I say here, the problem of Japanese alternative care is just institutionalization, everybody asked me, like, is there any problem of the foster parents' care? Of course, the answer is yes. There are so many problems. I understand that one-fourth, the quarter of children who are placed in foster care are sent back to the institution. That is the reality. So it means the matching process of the parents and the foster children a problem, and also certification of the foster parents a problem, and also the support is very scarce, and the child guidance center should, of course, put more financial resources to support each foster parents as well. But it shouldn't be used as an excuse that foster parent system is not enough to take care of children. The things we have to do is change the system itself, change the children from the institution to foster parents, and also provide a lot of support with the foster parent system. That is my point. So I really understand that a lot of good staffs of the institution made are making a lot of daily effort. That is what I really appreciate. But still, the system itself should be changed. Otherwise, children in the institution have to be cared by tax again, even after they leave the institution. I will answer the question at the question time more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Rosa?
はい。皆さんこんにちは。
Hello everyone.
こんにちは。イラン出身のサヘルと申します。私はイランとイラク戦争の時に親を亡くしまして、4歳の時から施設に預けられました。ですから4歳から、7歳まで私は児童養護施設で育っています。
My name is Sahel Rosa from Iran. I lost my parents to Iran-Iraq war. From when I was 4 years old till 7 years old, I was living in an institution.
今私のお母さんは7歳の時に私と出会って養子縁組をいろいろ大変だったんですけどもしてくれて施設から出してくれたんですけれども。
I met my mother, current mother, at the age of 7, and I was adopted. She did a lot of things for me.
で私はこの間21年ぶりに自分がいた施設に戻りました。で戻った時にすごく最初は自分がね育ったある意味一つの場所で家族がいるような場所ではあったんですけども、戻ってみると体が震えていたのも今でも覚えているし、戻りたくないっていう自分の中にいた育たない小さな女の子が自分の中にいて、その子があそこにはもう戻りたくないっていう怖がっている自分がいたんですね。
Last year, I went back to the institution that I was living after 21 years. Although it was a place that I grew up and I felt like a family to the institution, but then I felt my body shaking when I entered the institution. And I had feeling that I had still a small baby inside me who was worried and who was very scared.
別に施設が悪いところとは言ってはいないんですけども、だけどそこで面倒を見てくれている人たちっていうのはみんなを平等に見れるわけではなくて、私からしたら私たち子供は一人のやっぱり親が欲しい。で一人一人に頭を撫でてもらいたいしハグをしてもらいたいけれども、そうではない。一人の人が何人も子供を見るから、だんだんと8歳の自分でもその小さな子供たちが大人な気持ちで小さい子の面倒を見なければいけなくなるので、愛情にすごく飢えてしまいます。
Although institutions are not bad, it's very difficult for them to provide equal care. Everybody wants a parent of his or her own. Everyone wants to be patted on their head. Everybody wants to be hugged. And one-on-one relationship is what everybody wants, but that doesn't happen in the institutions. So even when I was as small as 8 years old, I felt I had to act as an adult, although I was still very small within myself.
私はお母さんに引き取られてから外の世界に出て一番感じたことは、中にいて気づかなかったんですけど、中にいるとそこにいることがなんとなく当たり前で、でも外の世界に出てみると同じ年齢の子どもたちに親がいたり、きれいな洋服を着ていたり、夢を持っていたり、でも私たちは夢を持つことを忘れていて、どうせここにいてもいなくてもっていうのが分からない中で生活をしているので、夢をまず持つことってすごく大切なんだなと思いました。
What I felt when I left the institution is that even with kids who are around the same age as myself, they had parents, they were wearing nice clothes, and they had dreams. But I had forgotten that to have dreams, and I realized how important it is to have dreams.
言葉なんですけど、私は8歳で引き取られた外の世界に出てみるとすごく驚いたのが、周りからあなたは教育が不足していると。でも別に頑張っているつもりなんですけど、8歳の子どもの教育には行き届いていなかったらしく、3歳ぐらいか4歳ぐらいの子どもたちしか使わない言葉を使っていたので、やっぱお母さんは引き取る側の今のお母さんは結構頑張って私を一生懸命教育をしてくれたんですけども、でも私だけではなく多分施設にいる子どもたちみんなが同じようにその勉強がなんていうんでしょうか、教育が同じように上がっていくとは限らず、やっぱり面倒を見てくれる人が一人一人を丁寧に見れるわけではないので、どうしても知識的にちょっと遅れてしまう部分というのはあるんですね。
Although I was 8 years old when I was sort of behind with my language. Although I was trying very hard, I wasn't speaking like an 8-year-old. I was speaking like 3 or 4 years old. And although my mom was trying very hard, it was still difficult. And in institutions, it's not easy for everybody to improve equally. So I felt that I was a little bit left behind.
あとは階段の上り下りが全くできなかったので、8歳で初めて階段ってこう上るんだ、こう降りるんだ、こういう話をするとみんながえって言うんですけども、ですから一つだけ誤解しないでほしいのが、皆さんにとって普通の子どもたちが送る日常と施設の中で送る私たちの日常って全く違っているので、それにぜひ施設にいる子どもたち一人一人に手を差し伸べてあげてほしいし、やっぱり生まれてきたからには一つの命なんですよね。皆さんも今お母さんかもしれないし、いつかはお母さんになって子供を産むじゃないですか。私もそう、いつかは誰かの親になる。その産んだ子供にすごく責任やっぱり持つべきなんだろうけど、持てない人もいて、だからってその子供に罪はないんですよね。はい、子供一人には必ず人権があって当たり前で、それを守るのも国だと思うし、一般の国民はそれに目を向けるべきだと思います。
You might be surprised, but please know that the daily life in institution and outside world is different. And I really want you to give hands of help to everybody, everyone who is living in institutions, because each life is very important. And perhaps you will become a parent someday, and I might become a parent someday and have a baby. And I think that I should be responsible for a baby, and the child is not responsible, child is not guilty. And so I really want you, each one of you, to reach out to children in institutions.
最後に一つだけ、よく施設から、私は自分の国でよく経験した言葉で、施設から出ましたって言うと、あーっていうすごく冷たい目で見られることもたくさんあるんですね。でもそれって別に何がいけないのと思うんですよ。ちゃんと私たちも教育を与える場を設けて、そういう場所があれば勉強だってするし、立派な人間だってなりたいし、だけどそういう一つレッテルを貼られてしまって、違うんだっていう目で見られるんだけれども、違いはないんですよ。心が痛むのも一緒だし、なのでそういうまずこういう発言をするのもすごく悩むっていうか、自分の生い立ちを話すときは心が痛いんですけど、でもこうやって私は今こうして発言をすることでこうやって頑張ってきたこともあり、今のお母さんのおかげでもあるんですけども、今施設の中にいる子どもたち、また施設を出てどうしていったらいいかわからない子もたくさんいるんですよね。そういう子どもたちに生活できる環境を、そしてただいまと言って帰れる家を、家族をぜひ与えてあげてほしいなって心から思います。以上です。
When I say that I'm from an institution, I'm stereotyped and people look at me coldly. But I don't understand why it's bad. Why is it bad? If I had opportunity, I can study and I can try to be. I can become a good adult. But I'm not different from anyone else in society, and my heart hurts as well, just as anybody. And speaking like this about my background in public is something that I not perfectly comfortable with, but I've been trying very hard, and what I want is for everybody to have a home where someone like your parent can say "okaeri" or where you can say "tadaima."
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that moving appeal. I'd like to open the floor to questions. I'd like to start first with the working press. And please ask a question. We don't have much time, and so let's not have opinions, just questions, please. Somebody want to start us off? Well, I can chum the water then. Japan is a developed country. We all know Human Rights Watch is a very famous NGO with offices across the world. And I just wonder why, even more basically, why open an office in Japan? Why here?
Yeah. Thank you very much. We set up our office in 2009, mainly because we wanted to change Japan's foreign policy. Japan's human rights situation is relatively better than other countries, but Japan was not using their potential influence as a big donor on behalf of human rights. And then we know that there are lots of grave human rights abuses around us, particularly in Asia, but also elsewhere. So our main purpose of setting up our office was to work with the foreign ministry to improve their foreign policy and practices to prioritize human rights. However, I don't say that Japan doesn't have human rights problems, and then this issue is one of the worst human rights problems in Japan, yet getting very small attention. So that's why we have decided that we should focus on this issue and then put our resources into it.
You want to go? Can you come to the microphone?
Hi, my name is Sophie Jackman from Kyoto Tsushin. Thank you for the time. Particularly for Doi-san, I want to ask, because you need to appeal to the government to repeal laws in particular and then the systems surrounding it, have you had any cooperation so far or signs from the government that they'll do something? And if this report is in a sense the first look that they get, what are you expecting? And what do you think will be the first step working with the Japanese government to change it, and when? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. I think the Japanese government, as well as the Japanese society, is putting very little attention on this issue. So, as I said earlier, they think that institutionalizing children is a routine matter and nothing a particular problem. So we have to struggle to address this issue. But I think that there are hopes. We know that there are, for example, a parliamentarians group which are looking into issues surrounding human rights issue of children in institutions. The problem right now is that they would like to address the abuses happening in institutions, but they do not see that depriving family life itself is a problem. So we have to change their understanding of this issue. However, there are basis for us to work within the parliament. So we would, of course, pressure the Ministry of Welfare, but also try to work with the parliamentarians who may be able to help us. But of course, we have to start by changing their popular opinion. Even if we have a friendly MPs, we need to get the social support to make them really take steps. So of course, we would get the help of Sahel-san and hopefully other strong opinion leaders as well to change the understanding of the issue that the rights to family life is a basic, children's rights.
Back.
Hi, I'm Suvendrini from IPS. I'm just wondering whether you did a survey of why these kids are taken away, because I think I've read that, in fact, young mothers don't want to give up their children. So I know that foster care is what you're aiming for, but also maybe support for young parents or mothers, or have you looked at that?
We have about 40,000 children, infants and kids under their alternative care, and the majority of them are under alternative care because they are abused by their parents or abandoned by their parents, there are, for example, 3,000 infants in the infant care institutions, and then many of them are, again, abused or abandoned. And those young parents, regarding those young parents, there is not a sufficient or good support system. Of course, it is the best interest of the child to be cared by their biological parents, but without that, they are in the care of institutions, not in the care of other families. And those parents do not want to give up their parental rights often. And then also they wish to put those children in institutions because they don't want to compete with other parents. That's what they think. But I believe that if child guidance centers can make it clear to their biological parents that it is better for the healthy development of infants and kids to be cared by family, not by institutions. I would say that much more parents would agree to put those children in the care of adoptive families or foster families. But currently, the focus of the Child Guidance Center is to put those children in institutions. So I think we can easily, or they can easily change their practices by shifting their focus, and then we need to encourage that.
Let me add one thing. I think the support for younger mother or parents also very much needed. Reunification after the children were taken by Child Guidance Center from their parents is the first and last purpose of the autumn care. Reunification is the goal. But in order to do that, we have to support the biological parents. Otherwise, the roots of the issue cannot be solved. So I just wrote 1-2 lines about it. But in Japan now, these kind of supports are very much, how do you say, these supports are very scarce, and Child Guidance Center don't have any resource to put in such kind of support.
Just briefly, if I could ask a couple questions. One is, you mentioned anecdotally the how coming out of institutions is difficult, right, when they grow up and become adults. Is there any sort of data on the troubles they have, dropout rates from school? I don't know, something to kind of show that. And the second question is, why was it different after the tsunami? You mentioned that after the tsunami up in Tohoku in 2011, that there was a very different approach taken, and I wonder why that is.
One of the biggest problems of this issue is there is no good data from the government. I found one research by the Tokyo Metropolitan City Government conducted, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, to follow how is the situation of the former children after the institutions. Then I think this spring, Osaka city or prefecture government also issued one report on it, on the same issue. But nationally, there is no research to decide what's the issue of the children or what the issue of independent life of their children or institution itself. When you see the data from the Tokyo Metropolitan City, it's very clear that the education opportunity for higher education, like even high school, is much lower for the children from the institution. Then also the much higher education, such as college, university, and also professional school, like Senmongakko special school in Japan, is much scarce. I don't have any number right now, but you can look at it on a page of 78, limited access to the higher education. Then also the rate of the people who have a full-time contract is so low. Then salary average is much lower than the average people from the normal family. So please look at the page of independent life. I put all numbers there. The answer to the second question about the differences between tsunami orphans and the orphans or children who are taken from the families by other reasons is, first, I think the biggest attention was paid to the orphans after tsunami. When I interviewed with the Child Gaza Center staff in Sendai, she said, so every day, every hour, every minute, we got a phone call from all over the world. So I want to take care of these children. There must be so many children orphaned from the tsunami. And also the nationally, the Child Gaza Center, Ministry of Welfare and Labor, and also all institutions in Japan try to get ready to accept these children from this area. But when we see the real situation happen, actually when I went to Tohoku, I thought there are so many orphans from tsunami in the institution, but I couldn't find almost any. Only 5 children were in orphanages. So it means that not only that, I mean the financial resources and also support from private organizations, government organizations, also even like a Human Rights Watch type of international organization paid attention on it. But when it comes to the children in alternative care in general, usually people don't know anything about it in Japan. Even I myself knew it, but I still don't have a lot of details about it. So the biggest reason, largest reason is the amount of attention paid to these children. Then also, the children from the tsunami, orphans in tsunami, from the tsunami, could get support from neighboring communities as well as their family members, even though they lost their parents. However, the children in alternative care couldn't get any support from community. They are isolated, they're discriminated against even. And also their families are usually even don't try to support these orphans. So the amount of support itself is so different as well.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm with Singapore's Channel News Asia, which is seen around the region. You said that you needed more people to be aware of the situation of children in alternative care, and perhaps the media can play a role. It was, I think, a few months ago that one Japanese TV channel ran a TV drama series on an institute. And I think there was a lot of criticism towards that TV drama. But could you just give me a sense of what your impression was of that drama and the kind of criticism that received, and whether that helped or had any negative impact on the whole situation of the alternative care issue? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think you're referring to a drama called Asu Mama ga Inai. And I am astounded by the lack of discussions about institutionalization itself. The discussion was, there was varied discussions, mainly on the abuses taking place in institutions. But no one really talked about why those children are in institutions, and then it is a problem that for children to be deprived of family life and put in institutions. So we would like to start, this reflects the kind of indifferences within the Japanese society that their institutionalization itself is a problem. So we would like to start a discussion, public discussion, from releasing this report that the institutionalization itself can be an abuse.
Okay, anybody else have a question? We can open the floor up to anybody who wants to ask. If you do ask, I just ask that you keep the question brief and to the point. Anybody have a follow-up question? No? Last chance? You want to go?
I'm T.W. Kong. I'm a professional associate member of the club. My question is, if you look at this problem, is it part of a much bigger social problem? I just saw a few days ago a documentary by NHK that showed that about working poor. And people are surviving, mothers perhaps, are surviving on less than 1.4 million yen per year. That's poverty level. Now, you can't afford to raise kids, and so you have to give them up. But I can kind of understand that maybe they feel they're victims of society, and therefore they don't want to give up their parental rights, and therefore, these kids go into these institutions and people can't adopt them, and there's kind of it seems to me, maybe I'm imagining, but maybe there's a little bit of a vicious cycle that comes from the bipolarization of wealth in this country. And so if there are so many working poor people, don't they feed more and more kids into this poor system, even if you try to fix this just on from a human rights angle? Maybe I'm imagining, but I just wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, do you have any sense of what the background of the mothers are, and are there economic factors involved?
It's a good question. And then, of course, we believe that the poverty issue or growing gaps between the society in terms of economic wealth is one factor in parents to abandon their children, or it may affect them in terms of abusing their children. I think that can be one factor for sure. But I do not think that, of course, but I do not think that this problem, this poverty issue should not be an excuse for the child guidance center to place those children in institutions, of course. So I think it's although it is a contributing factor, it is slightly different issues we are talking about. But of course, if you look into the background of the children, why they are in institution, you would see variety of social issues which needs to be taken care of. And then unfortunately, if you look into that issue, you can write 1,000-page reports. So we kind of focused on the kind of the situation for children after they are removed or abandoned by their parents. But of course, that's one of the human rights issues. Potentially, we can of course look into.
Any other questions from the floor?
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Rika Watanabe, coming from international NGO Peace Boat, and this is a question for Sahel Rosa-san. Is there any typical activity that you are doing as a goodwill ambassador of this project, or is there any program that you would like to do in the future? That would be great if you can just share some ideas. サヘルローズさんにご質問なんですけれども、先ほどどこかでこのプロジェクトのこれからなんていうのかしらキャンペーナーとしてやっていただきますということでご紹介だったと思うんですけれども、何か実際にそのキャンペーナーとしてやってらっしゃること、もしくは近々やろうと思ってらっしゃることというアイディアがあれば、ぜひお聞かせください。
はい、ありがとうございます。すいません。土井さんのこのような活動は今日がある意味スタートラインにご一緒に立ったことになるんですけども、そもそもなぜ私は最初から別にこうやって表にまた出てこの自分の生い立ちのことを語ろうと思ったことはなかったです。でもそのきっかけとなったのは土井さんと一緒に番組を出たことがきっかけだったんですけれども、その時に日本の中にもこれだけたくさんの児童養護施設があり、これだけの子どもたちがある意味全て満足しているような生活をしているとは思ってない子どもたちがたくさんいるということをまず知ったんですね。
So today is somewhat of a start of the campaign, and originally I wasn't planning of coming out about my background so openly like this, but by meeting with Doi-san and doing a TV program together, that made me realize that there's a great number of institutions, even in Japan, and there are many children who are not living sufficient life.
はい、で私は前に先生これを始める前から自分の国の施設で自分の国にサヘルの家という施設を作ることを目標に今の仕事をしていて、で実際に建物はすぐには作れるんですけども、なぜそれをじゃすぐに作らないかというと、それを持続するような仕組みにまだ国もできていないし、私の国には女性がじゃあ一人で手を挙げてじゃあこれやりたいって言ったらまずすごいオープンではないので、口出しをしたらなんで口出すんだっていうふうに言われてしまうから、今はじゃあその一部として何かをプレゼントしたりとか、そういう活動を自分の国ではしてきてたんですね。
But I've always wanted to create a house of Sahel in my country, Iran, and that has always been my dream. And although I can actually build a house now, but the current situation in Iran does not allow me to create a sustainable system. The country government is not supportive, and it's very difficult as a woman to do this. So so far what I'm doing is doing a part of realizing my dreams, such as donating gifts.
で日本である方の知り合いを通して日本の施設に1回行ったことがあったんです。その施設に行って子どもたちと遊んで、じゃあ帰ろうかなと思って、で私はそこで日本でもこの施設は支援をしていこうっていうふうに決めてはいたんですけども、その子どもがさりげなく帰り際に「また来るね」って言ったら「どうせまた来ないんでしょ」っていうふうにさらっと言われたんですね。こういうふうに思ってしまってるんだと、寂しい思いをこれだけたくさんしてるんだっていうのが実はもう2年ぐらい前の出来事で、そこから密かにやってはいたんですけども、こういうふうに表でスタートしたのは今回がある意味スタートラインだったので、私はもっとこの自分が芝居を今やっているんですけれども、それを通して自分の名前をもっと知ってもらうことがきっかけで、別にサヘルを知ってもらおうと思っていなくて、私を通して施設上がりの人でも頑張ったらこうなれるんだと、それと同時に子どもたちにも勇気を与えたいし、この活動を通して与えたいし、また多くの人にもっとその施設に目を向けてもらえるようなちょっとしたスパイシーに自分がなれたらいいなと、気づきになれたらいいなと、やっぱり今は気づきが大切だと思うので、その活動を一緒に言葉を発することで誰かの心にまず興味を持ってもらうっていうことがスタートしてもらいたいなというふうに思ってます。
About 2 years ago, I visited an institution in Japan, and although I had decided that I wanted to support the institution, when I was living there, when I said goodbye, the kids there said, "You're not coming back anyways." So that made me realize how much sadness these kids are experiencing. So these kind of activities I've been doing for the 2 years, but coming out in public like this, it's first time for me. Today, and I am doing acting in theater, and so by letting my name out and by making more people know my names, I want everyone to know that someone like me who's coming from an institution can be like this and giving courage to other people. And also I want more people to pay attention to institutions and have kizuki, like a realization of this issue. And I want to continue working together to solve this issue and get more people interested in this issue.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. If somebody wants to ask the final question. Okay, you in the back, yeah. The brave gentleman in the back.
Hi, Paul Wadden, International Christian University. You mentioned how the rights of the biological parents tend to supersede those of the children. And from glancing at the report and from hearing your brief comments today, you don't mention family registry and the issues of koseki. And I wonder if, in brief, you might make a few remarks about those and what role, or if any role, that they might play.
I think the Human Rights Watch does have a clear position on the issue of koseki, but my impression through this research is not necessarily koseki, the registration of family itself, but the tie of family, unification of one family is recognized as very important thing for Japanese society. That's maybe why in the United States, many people can openly adopt their children, and children can say, I'm an adoptive child in the family. But in Japan, it's very difficult to tell I'm a foster child or I'm an adoptive child. When I think that kind of unification of family, that is not necessarily a bad thing, that is a good thing. But on the other hand, when I look at the Japanese society back into maybe the early 20th centuries, the community was very strong, and then also extended family like uncle, aunt, and other members of extended family support the young mother. Maybe this is connected to the question from the floor, or maybe 10 minutes ago. Now the Japanese society is, in Japanese society, young parents are expected to care their children by themselves without almost any help from society or community. Then if they cannot do any, they face any problem, the society just attack them. Like, why do you abuse their children? But the reality of these parents who maybe have to, or who committed this abuse to their children, couldn't bring their voices out of their maybe even home. Then if there is a little help, or at least a little help from child guidance center or other governmental officials, they could manage to treat these issues. So I think the current Japanese society just look into the importance of biological unification of the family. But important thing is, as the interview in the video said, child is a treasure of our society. And we are now, facing the very big problem of declining rate of childbirth. So if you are thinking about it, so why don't we support individual children as a society, as their future? We are investing a lot of things to these children for better future of Japan. So sticking with just the idea of koseki or unification is meaningless, I think. I hope this answer is a little bit at least helpful.
Okay, Doi-san, do you want to give a very brief sort of final statement or appeal, and then we'll wrap it up? Or have you said what you want to say?
Yes, mostly. But I just want to say that, we made a very comprehensive reform recommendation to the government. And again, we need the attention of media, including the international media. Because Japan, compared with other governments, doing really poorly. As you can see the chart in this report in the page 39. So I wish that, this issue needs to be seen and treated as one of the really major human rights issues in Japan. So I wish that all international correspondents here in Japan would start to see this issue as a very serious issue from today. And we wish, I would try to work with the international organization, international NGOs around the world to really improve this issue from within and from outside. So I appreciate your attention on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and let's give a round of applause to our guest today. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and that wraps up today's event. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
And then just one housekeeping information that the video, high resolution, video is available for any media who would like to use this data. And then I and our staff members have the URL for you to download the data. So if you wish to use the data, including not video, but also we have pictures, as well as chart and so on. So if you're interested, please contact us. Thank you.